Okay, awesome. All right, so this slideshow is the one that we used last year. So there might be a few things that still haven't been updated. Let me share my screen really quickly. So can everyone see this? How would I play this? Okay. All right, so welcome everybody to the training session for the STEM summer camp with PLE. I guess we could start off with if everybody wants to just like introduce themselves really briefly, and then I'll go into an introduction of what we're doing in the summer, a little bit about the camp schedules, the way that the groups are going to be split up, and then a little bit about what each group is going to be doing. So can everyone probably just unmute themselves and then tell us like where you're from, maybe your name, do you speak like Chinese, Spanish, a different language, and also any previous volunteer experience you have. So Daniel, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm Daniel. I'm from Philadelphia and I speak English and Chinese. I guess the only other like volunteer experience was like volunteering at a food drive-ish area. I'm not really sure what it was, like meal prep, something like that. And then of course with PLE a lot. And yeah.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Feel free to just like unmute yourselves and go.
I think you guys all know me. I'm Sandra from PLE as the youth program director. So I'm here to support any new ideas. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Just like next on my screen is Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from New Jersey. I speak English and a little bit of Chinese, and I've been volunteering at the PLE Math Counts program for the past year.
Okay, thank you. And then I've Vincent.
Hello, I'm Vincent. I'm from Philadelphia, and I speak English mostly, but a little bit of Chinese. And I've been volunteering with programming classes here with PLE for the last year.
Great, thanks. I've Benjamin Liu.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ben. I live in New Jersey. I taught at PLE for the math counts program, I think in like 2022 or something, I think. And yeah, in 2022, and what else do you want me to say?
Do you speak another language?
I mean, I sort of speak a little Chinese, I guess.
Awesome. All right, thanks. Ivan.
Hello, I'm Ivan. I'm from Philadelphia. I speak English and both Chinese fluently. Um, I've joined PLE last year and been teaching mostly for math and reading, but now I am part of the curriculum team and working at this camp.
All right, thank you. What about Jason?
Hey, I'm Jason. I'm from Philadelphia, and I speak a little bit of I speak English and a little bit of Chinese. I joined PLE to teach Java programming, and aside from PLE, I also volunteer at robotics events.
Amazing, thank you. Can we get Brian? Awesome, thanks, Brian. And then Eric just joined. Eric, if you want to just like introduce yourself, maybe like say your name if you know another language, and like other volunteer experience that you've had before. That's all right. Oh,
14. My name is Eric Young. I used to have, I think, taking down like times for like classes and stuff.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I guess we've introduced everyone. And we
We
can
have
go.
Yachen and Ethan.
Oh, sorry. Oh, there's a whole third slide. Sorry. Yeah, if you two want to go ahead and go.
So I'm Yakshan, currently in Philadelphia. I speak English and Chinese, and I am a G3 teacher currently at PLE. I used to teach G1, but I switched to G3, so now I'm a G3 teacher for PLE.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Ethan Young. I'm currently in middle school right now, and I work as a block manager for PLE.
Great. Thank you so much. So now I think we've got everyone, if I'm not missing another slide. So here's a little bit about the camp that we're running this year. It's a service project of PLE and also Northeast Academy of Philadelphia, along with Give Education. And we're receiving funding from Chevron Charity and also Bank of America. We've got some really generous donors making this possible. And then, so we have a little bit of information about like who we're serving. This KIPP Academy Middle School is from when Give Education ran the camp last year in Houston. Just some demographic data on the students who are from KIPP Academy. As you see, the majority of them are from low-income households. And so basically, a lot of these schools are really underfunded. There's very little funding for teachers for like materials at the school. And you'll see that that's reflected in their sort of annual report card. So the state, at least Texas, does sort of like standardized testing for students, and they found that more than 40% of the students failed to meet their grade level in all subjects. So this is helpful to sort of keep in mind as you are sort of like working with the students. I know it's going to be different this year because it's through a church. So the demographics probably aren't going to be looking like this, but just keeping in mind like exactly who the students are, their sort of level of understanding, and also if they're like meeting their grade level, stuff like that will help when you are teaching them. So you can be more like sort of like understanding, empathetic, stuff like that always helps. So tentatively, we have the camp dates set for the Monday and Tuesday on July 3rd and 4th. But Daniel and Miss Sandra, feel free to like correct that if that's wrong. And
yeah, sorry, I thought it was June 29th and 30th.
Okay, does that sound correct, Miss Sandra?
Yes. We just confirmed with the principal of that school.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, so those are going to be the dates then. Sorry about that. And then here's the location. Is the location accurate?
We right now we can see the first slide, not the second.
But the Northeast Academy of Philadelphia.
Yes.
That's the right spot, right? Okay, awesome. And then so we're expected to have 20 plus students. Hopefully we can get around like
actually another update. We may
Okay.
have up to 100 students.
Oh, so we're gonna have a lot of students.
I can't see it.
Yeah, I still right now I can see the first slide, not the.
Oh, let me see. Why is that?
I don't know how about others.
Okay, wait. I think I have to reshare. Hold on, give me a
Okay,
second.
good.
Share screen, desktop. All right. So
They They have around 100 students, but we always can choose some from them because a lot of students are very young. So
Okay, amazing. Yeah, that's good information to know because yeah, I'm seeing that there's also like a lot more volunteers than we were talking about I think a few nights ago. So that'll
Yeah.
work out great with the more students. So essentially there's just like a few goals for this, obviously to inspire students' interest in learning robotics and STEM. I know that's a lot of the work that PLE's been doing already with the robotics club, so that's awesome. It's just going to be like a continuation of that. Also helping students academically and then building long-term relationships with them who show interest in continuous learning. So last year we found that, you know, a lot of the students, they're super passionate about sort of STEM, the different areas of STEM. And even after the camp, they were reaching out to some of the volunteers asking for just like discussions or like talking with them about their latest projects, which is really great. So that's something that I think you can expect. And it's also like something that's really fun. So here, let me move on. So here's a camp schedule that we ran last year. Obviously, these are all sort of subject to whatever constraints that we have from the academy, but we found that this camp schedule seems to work pretty well. You'll see that in the morning, the volunteers will arrive sort of earlier to help set everything up, put the sign up sheets out, things like that. And then the campers will arrive at around 8:45. And then the actual sessions start at 9. So you see 9, and then 10:30 is the second session. So the way that the sessions sort of operate is that the students will cycle between the different classrooms. So if you're going to have like around 100 students, we probably want to split that up into at least 3 or 4 different classrooms. And they'll sort of cycle between those. So from session 1 to session 2, the students will all rotate one classroom, and then they'll go on from there. And then 12 to 1, you see there's like a lunch period, and then there's afternoon 2 sessions, and then they'll wrap up by around 4 o'clock. Last year, we found it was really important to sort of have this like briefing session after the day ends, just to sort of talk about like what went well, if any of the campers have like concerns that need to be addressed, or any sort of changes to the lesson plans based on what we saw during the day. So the briefing is an extremely important time. So let's move on to, so this is, I made this before learning that we were going to have like 100 something students. So you'll see this is just with like 2 groups and like basically 2 classrooms. But if there's 100 students, we'll probably split that up into 3 or 4 classrooms. So you'll see the groups are going to also expand, and the number of students in each group are also going to expand. So is this the total number of volunteers that we're going to have like for the summer, or do you expect there to be like a little bit more?
we could have more.
Okay,
Right.
so even more.
For the teachers, at least there's 2 or 3, I don't remember. Yeah, there's 2 who aren't here for teachers, and then there are more teacher assistants.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
But,
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So like, I mean, I guess the more volunteers, the better. It never hurts to have too many people in a classroom sort of just helping out, volunteering. So that's great. So sort of like this schedule isn't accurate anymore. But I guess it's a good visual for what we saw on the last slide. So here we have, so this is how we did it last year. We had just sort of like group leaders for each different sort of topic, and then they would be the ones sort of hosting the individual training sessions, as well as just sort of like planning out curriculum. And then we also have some people in charge of like media coverage, sort of getting local newspapers, TV stations to come out and like see the kids in action at camp. And then also just some general volunteers who are helping, just running around. You'd be surprised at the number of like, oh, like this person needs water, like this person needs a Band-Aid, stuff like that. It helps to have like 1 or 2 volunteers just like dedicated to just like being around in the hallways and looking out for that.
Could I ask a few questions about that?
Of course, yeah, feel free.
So for the camp coordinator, I was under the impression that I would also be teaching, or it is in your experience, camp coordinator is like a separate, like dedicated thing that's gonna like take up all of my time.
Oh, no, you can, yeah, you can definitely be teaching as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. And for the media coverage, do you already have like any idea, or because I have someone I have in mind, but I don't know if you have someone like professional who can do it.
No, yeah. So I was gonna say, for that position, I'd recommend someone who has like experience in photography, because just like getting those photos is important if like because typically like those media outlets will be asking for photos. So having like high
Right.
quality photos, like not taken on a phone, probably, will be pretty important to have.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, yeah, so the general helpers can be, I guess like younger students can be good for this position, because they're sort of just like helping out in general during the day. All right. So the first sort of like teaching content we have is robotics. And then Daniel's going to be obviously touching more on like the robotics aspect and like doing a lot of that training. He's more familiar with that. And the second one is going to be number sense. So the students had like so much fun with this topic last year because once you learn a sort of trick, like you'll see a few of them here, it feels like magic. And then we split the students up into groups and then had them compete. Like they'd get a question and then they'd have to just like buzz in to answer the question, almost like Jeopardy style. And they had like so much fun doing that. So in this class, basically, they're going to be learning these different tricks. I don't know if people are familiar with like the sort of, I guess you wouldn't be because it's like a Texas thing. But Texas has like a number sense competition, where it's just like super rapid fire math questions. Like how do you multiply 2-digit numbers by other 2-digit numbers? There's tricks like multiplying by 11, stuff like that. Teaching these students these tricks will sort of, I guess, pique their interest in math, and as well just like give them some good math knowledge that they can carry into their school math classes. So this is a really useful and a super fun class for them. And we have like the curriculum that we used last year that we can share. It's sort of just like a few slideshows with the different tricks on it. So yeah, are there any questions about this one? Okay, awesome. And then, so here's just like a few expectations. Some of these things are like important, given, or actually some of these things were very important, especially last year, given that the sort of demographic that we were serving. So you'll see like obviously have a serving heart and be responsible. That looks like being on time to the classes, and also just like doing your best to prepare for all the classes and preparing like the teaching material. The sort of these in last year, these campers got bored really quickly. So if you weren't prepared, or if you're like looking for your notes or things like that, they'd get pretty bored pretty easily. So just being super like well polished, and then always having something to say, always being really like animated and excited about the class will help keep them excited, and then also make your jobs a lot easier. Of course, like be respectful. Don't or I don't know if this is going to be a problem for this camp, probably not. But last year especially, it was important that we didn't sort of like tell them like they're like below grade level standards, things like that. I mean, it seems obvious, but like stuff like that is pretty hurtful to them. So it's always like positive encouragement, things like that. And then also make sure you keep up communication with your other team members, and then also your sort of group leader, so they know what the status is for each of the classes. And then try not to use your phones in class. At least last year, that this was mostly because like once you pull out your phone, a lot of the students themselves have phones and they'll just like pull them out and then like start playing games or stuff like that. So we want to keep them engaged on what we're actually doing in the different activities and not on their phones. So just like help by setting a good example and not bringing out your phones inside the classrooms. And then so you'll be receiving like obviously service hours that Miss Sandra will be verifying. So yeah. And then let's see. What was more? Oh yeah. So there's some information about individual group training. I think it's best if we sort of split up to do individual group training. That way it's more targeted and it's more efficient. Daniel is probably going to be leading the robotics team, and then we'll probably find or like designate someone to lead the number sense team, depending on just like who's interested and like who thinks that they'd be good in this position. And then you'll be like preparing the teaching in your individual groups, and then doing like a teaching demo to the larger group probably at a later date, just so that everyone can provide feedback and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh yeah, so that's the end. That's all I had. Just sort of briefly introducing the camp, and let me know if there's any questions that anybody had or like concerns.
Okay, I have a few actually. So we already had a sort of schedule made. I was wondering if I could bounce that off of you, but first I had a question about the number sense. I didn't feel like it fit the time earlier. Would it be possible to, instead of having number sense, having the Lego Technic setting? Because I would feel like having it more entirely STEM based would be a more like centered and more focused experience, because having in STEM and then having in like not STEM, but having in like robotics and then having in entirely math doesn't really seem to fit, in my opinion. So I was wondering if we could sort of dissolve number sense and then instead allocate that to the Arduino stuff, the Lego Technic, and then the programming thing.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, because you probably need like one more class anyways right now, right? Because if you're gonna have like 100 students and you're doing it, oh, are you saying like you'd run like 2 Lego Technic or 2 robotics classes at the same time?
Oh no, I was thinking instead of because previously we were discussing just having an Arduino and a programming, but since we have the Lego Technic sets, I feel like the Lego Technic sets would be probably as fun, if not more fun, compared to number sense. And since the majority of them aren't going to be coming from Title I schools, if I'm getting that right, it might not be as entertaining because they might have learned some of that already. So I feel like replacing that with the Lego Technic might be more worthwhile for them, because then they can learn about the programming aspect of it and the like year ratios, the design aspect of Lego Technic.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So if you were to remove the number sense and instead do the Lego Technic, would you still have, you'd still be able to fill the number of classes, right? Like that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, 3. It should be 3 classes. Yeah.
So okay, so you're gonna, if you run 3 classes though, aren't you you're gonna have like 30 to 35 students in a classroom at a time?
Right. The 100 students I think was more of a like maximum. Because a lot of them are probably gonna be in elementary, like really young, and I don't think they would fit that. And we're probably just gonna be picking out the older students, like from 4 to 8, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But let me share my screen. This is something that we thought of last night. What do you think? So we don't really have time flushed out yet, since we don't like know exactly what time everything's gonna be. But here, in this situation, we have the class where it's like a group of students. So we have class A, class B, and class C, and here are the periods denoting the time. So in the beginning, we're gonna have a group introduction. And then class A would do first the Arduino circuitry, which is like the building aspect, and then Arduino programming, which is a programming, and that would take around 2 hours. So that in the middle here, they would have like a little break or something to like, in case they are getting bored, to like switch over to a new topic, because I think what you said yesterday was really valuable. And then same think for the Lego, it would be a building hands-on experience, and then a programming, more of a conceptual, and then similar to programming, where programming theory is more like learning the concept of programming, and then Scratch++ would be like designing games or something similar to that in code. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, this all looks really good. Yeah, so it's like obviously the initial schedule that I had up there was based on like what we did last year. So
Yeah.
the fact that you have like an updated one is really good. And yeah, I think I think everything looks good here. So what about the like sort of rotating the students between classes? Like how is that gonna work?
Yeah, so I was thinking that we could have, since most of the materials are relatively difficult to move once they're set up, I was thinking having like some of the teacher assistants like shuffle them between rooms. And since it's gonna be like multiple classrooms, we can situate them relatively close to each other so that they can just like go in a triangle. And
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And every class is gonna do one thing. So they'll, for example, class A will do Arduino, then programming, then Legos. Oh, also, one of the ideas was to have lunch split one of the classes in half. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, because it might lose their focus. But at the same time, like having them wait until like 1-ish to have lunch seems iffy.
Yeah. I'd say yeah, I agree that splitting the class up might be bad for like focus. I think I'd rather do like lunch, or I feel like the students would rather have lunch like earlier than later. But I think
Okay.
one isn't like that bad if it has to be one. I think like one of the days last year we did do like a 1 o'clock lunch, and you definitely do get more questions like when's lunch. But
Yeah.
I think in general it'll be fine.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Of course. Anything else? Any other suggestions or like questions? Oh yeah, I think it'd be a good Daniel, do you want like someone um designated as like the sort of like person in charge for each of the different robotics, like one for like the Technic class or something like that?
Yeah, so I was thinking that would be like what the teachers are doing, because they're gonna be like specialized. So for example, I'm specializing in building because that's what I do on my robotics team, the building and designing aspect. So like that's where I'm most confident as. Like and then so people who are most confident in programming would be teaching the programming based one. So for example, the Arduino one would have someone who knows how to do Arduino circuitry and someone who knows how to do Arduino programming in one room, and they would just stay there.
Okay.
Although you raise up a good point, should we have someone who like stays with a class at a time? Kind of like a advisor or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, and also I was thinking like, are you gonna have someone who's specifically in charge of like the Lego Technic curriculum, or are you just sort of gonna be like running
Oh.
like the entire robotics curriculum?
Oh yeah, no. That would be someone would be let me find who it is. It would be Austin and Maris. They both couldn't come, so that's pretty funny.
Okay.
But they're gonna be running it. So Austin would be running the design aspect of it, like the gear ratios, the pulleys, stuff like that, explaining how that works. And Amaris would be running the programming aspect of that, assuming we are able to implement programming.
Right. All right. Sounds good. Okay. Well, yeah, that's all I had. Is there anything else that y'all want to cover?
Oh wait, I forgot. My bad. Wait, Sandra, would the Is the 100 students for the online class, like we were talking about earlier, was that for the online class or was that for the in-person camp?
Oh, that's for in person.
Oh, okay.
They probably have over around 100 for their summer camp, and we could pick students from those.
Do you know how many are like from 5 to 6, as you said? Or older
I'm
than
not
that?
so sure. Yeah,
Okay.
they should have more younger kids than the older kids.
Right. So I was thinking, maybe we could have some kids from that, but also I remembered that we mentioned the other day, we could try emailing the Title I schools, like asking if they're interested in coming here. I'm not sure if that's still a possibility given how limited time we have.
Daniel, I highly recommend you to go over to visit the site. Make sure the layout is good enough to if we want to make sure if they can hold so many people.
Okay.
And then after that, if you think we need more students, then we can reach out.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I can schedule, schedule meeting with, if you, any day you are available, you want to visit, I can ask a person to give you a tour.
Okay. How about Wednesday?
This coming Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, Ethan, Eric mom, and Yachen's mom, they're working, they're a Chinese teacher over there. So I can talk to them.
Oh, okay. Great.
And then they
Thanks.
can show you around.
All right, great.
So right now you decide now to do the number sense.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people would know it already, especially given how it's not right now. It's not a lot of Title I school.
Okay.
It's subject to change, but right now I don't think students would benefit a lot from that.
I have a question for Benjamin. So during the 2 days summer camp, how do we connect with you?
I'm like available by phone or like.
So
I mean,
you
if it-
kind of like the remote
yeah.
distance support.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Just like text me anytime.
Sure. Yeah, I think basically this is it. Do you guys have any questions? If you don't have any questions, maybe you can have a follow-up meetings, like who's teaching what. And anytime, Ben, do you want to have another meeting with us?
Sure, yeah. I feel like it'd be helpful to first like designate who's in charge of like what, and then having another meeting to just sort of like plan would be great.
Oh, one more thing. If the summer camp starts from on June 29th, then we need to order all those products
Yeah, so
and
I
make
mean,
sure we get it before that.
yeah. So I think
So you
yeah.
want to do it today, or you want to just do it with Daniel
I
separately?
think are you talking about ordering like the robotics things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think doing that tomorrow. Like that's like the plan.
Okay.
Sure.
So maybe you and Daniel can schedule another meeting and make sure.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah. So how about if we don't have any more questions, then we could end the meeting for today.
Okay, awesome.
And maybe we're gonna have some follow-up meetings before before the camp starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the meeting, stop recording the meeting.